Hello there, my name's Richard Mullen. I'm one of the account managers here at hance. Today I'm talking to Kevin Still from New Tribes Mission. We're having a bit of a chat about moving from GP across to BC. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Kevin. Morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
And I hope you're well today.
We're doing well, thank you. Yep.
Excellent, excellent. So before we start, can you just tell us a little bit, Kevin, about New Tribes Mission and just sort of explain to us what you do and how you do it?
Yeah, sure. New Tribes Mission is a Christian charity with workers both here in the UK and overseas. We serve as a channel for churches to send their personnel overseas to share the Christian message of God's love and care for all mankind. This often necessitates learning unwritten languages, analysing them to produce literacy materials, teach the people to read and write their own ethnic languages, and we help with developing health programs, socio-economic projects where appropriate. But our final goal is to see local churches established that are able to be a blessing to their community. Our campus here in North East Lincolnshire serves two purposes. Firstly, it's our UK head office that supports our missionaries around the world. And secondly, we operate a European training centre that prepares candidates in biblical studies and also cross-cultural studies to enable them to serve as missionaries overseas. As the head office of NTM UK, we receive donations from donors both in the UK and from other countries for the work of NTM. It's missionaries and overseas personnel, but we also handle the college fees of the students and the expenses of the training college. And then we process the expenses for the work of NTM UK and the college. And we seek to maintain contact with our donors through our magazine and receipt letters. And as a charity, obviously, we're required to submit annual accounts to the Charity Commission and to our supporters.
Brilliant. And how long have you been an hance customer?
Oh, well, we've been using Dynamics since 2003. And it migrated from one company to bought over by another company that eventually was bought over by hance, I believe. So, yeah, we fell into hance's grasp, as it were, by buyouts from previous companies that we originated from.
Okay. Excellent. So quite a long time. What sort of prompted you to start looking for a new solution? Why did you think about moving away from GP?
Well, we had been using GP, as I say, since 2003, but the program was installed on premise and using our own SQL Server. One of the reasons at that stage where we are located, the internet was very difficult to organize, and we struggled with, we would have struggled or anything if it needed to be online at that early days. Obviously, since then, things have improved, and we have what we would consider a more reliable, consistent broadband. And so, yeah, GP was, the version that we were on was outside of mainstream support, although it was still in extended support. But at that point, we realized we needed to be looking ahead and wondering what happens as we considered upgrade options. One of the big factors we evaluated was the possibility of moving to a cloud-based system. Although as a charity we benefit from being able to get Microsoft software at reduced costs, at times we have to get by with limited IT support, and that can be a huge factor. Obviously, if we have the program on premise, we have to maintain the SQL Server, maintain the program, and undertake the regular software updates to keep that system going. As we considered a cloud-based system, it would enable us to have the latest versions of the software online and not have to go through the rigorous exercises of going through the upgrades on our own premise, on our own SQL Server.
Brilliant. Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about what Business Central solution you chose, and why, and what were you hoping to sort of gain from that particular BC solution that you opted for?
Well, I'll go back. I've been here with New Tribes for 20 years since we moved up to Northcotes, Lincolnshire. But one of the reasons we chose Dynamics, or used to be Great Plains, Dynamics, Great Plains. One of the reasons we chose that program in the first place was that we could manipulate the SQL data to accomplish a multitude of tasks, and using various programs, Excel or third-party programs. But then it meant that we had found many ways to deal with our specific needs as a charity. We made extensive use of macros to import data. We made use of exporting it to Excel and then running calculations in Excel. But unfortunately, the finance manager who was here at the beginning was also our programmer. And so we'd made great efforts of getting things put in place, but he left several years ago. And so we're left with a system that functioned very well. I was very comfortable with, knowing, having worked with it for 20 years, but it had more and more difficulties maintaining those reports and maintaining all those connections to the SQL data. And obviously he's the finance manager slash IT manager that was here that set all those up is no longer here anymore. And so that meant becomes more of a challenge. We looked at migrating, we looked at setting these up, and obviously they become huge things for us to maintain our core functions. We as a charity claim gift aid, so that was a huge thing for us of handling all the gift aid claims, keeping track of that. But we also produce monthly statements that we send out to our students, to our missionaries around the world, and letting them know how much funds have come in for them from their individual donors that come through NTM. So there were some huge challenges that we needed to get resolved. Obviously, changing a system always throws up concerns that, is it going to work? Is it going to continue? And so that was one of the big things. We also wanted to improve the annual charity reports. We've started doing our own, producing our own accounts that we'll be submitting to the Charity Commission. And so one of the big factors that we looked at moving from Dynamics GP to Business Central was to be sort of come back more in line with the standard SORP and SOFA reports that we need for Charity Commission. So it was viewing the situation, viewing the needs, and sort of saying how would that be best handled if we adopted and switched to Business Central.
Brilliant. And you opted for one of our prepackaged charity offerings, didn't you? I think you went for the gold package in the end.
Yeah, as we talked through, one of the obviously the requirements is it needed to fit with our requirements as a charity. Yes, we went with the gold package of the charity specific Business Central. Basically that starts off with that core functionality that's looking at the SOFA and the SORT reports that we need as a charity and the standard structure of the accounts. But it also facilitates the way that we operate and claiming gift aid. It's slightly different. We found that our actual situation is more, we're handling the finances and we're handling gift aid on a financial term rather than on a ERP solution where we're interacting with the donors and claiming and doing fundraising. So we needed a system that would allow the core business financial programming and capabilities, but also on the edge of the charity markets and things that we are. So yeah, it's a charity specific version of Business Central, And as we looked at the different options as to what would come and what would be required, we ended up choosing the gold package, which best suited our needs.
So, and in terms of timing, I mean, as a group, we couldn't have made our timing any worse. We did this sort of mid-pandemic. So what challenges did that throw up, and how did you overcome them? Doing a change of system in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, like you say, that was one of the big challenges. As we were sort of making that final decision as to how to go forward, I think our meeting, Richard, was sort of a few days before lockdown came into place, wasn't it? So
It
just
was
as
the
we
day
were
before.
beginning that process, the whole country went into lockdown. Threw up some interesting challenges as to how we no longer could have any face-to-face discussions about the project or implementation, and so we all learned this new world of online Zoom meetings and team meetings to go through. But we've worked. I think it's worked quite well for us. We've established quite the connection with hance and the team there that have supported us through this. We've had, as I say, many Teams video calls, phone calls to sort of get through. But it's we feel that we've succeeded. We actually went through the implementation. We actually were getting. We sort of put the project manager had put together a schedule, but we ended up becoming a little bit more ahead of schedule than we expected. And we put in a lot of hours having the background to try and get everything migrated across. But it actually, I think even in that, it helped us work through and become more understanding of the system than perhaps if somebody had come along and just said, oh, this is what we need, give us all the information, and then migrate it across for us. I think because of having to be involved and submit all this data that you needed to then implement and transfer over, I think it probably gave us a better understanding of the bare bones of the system as well, which has been useful.
Okay, and so since the completion of the project, what benefits have you seen in terms of the way that you now operate?
Well, like I said, I think for myself, I've been used to the GP for 20 years, and I've spent a lot of that time being very comfortable with the macros and the ways that we operated. So it's certainly is a change in the way we process the transactions. It certainly is a strain on the old grey cells to sort of transition to the new program. We do think that it's going to, as we're getting more used to it and seeing that that's more familiar to us, we think it is going to save us time. There's certainly some things that are much slicker on the new system. I admit we found a few things that that was scratching our heads thinking, well, how are we going to do that now and things like that. But I think when it comes to year end, I think that's when we're really going to see the benefits. Going back to a more standard structure of the accounts, going back to a standard reporting process, I think that's when we're going to see the benefits, is when we come to year end, to be able to produce the annual reports, to be able to produce a trial balance that already fits along with the charity standard reporting SORP and SOFA that we need. And so I think that's certainly, we will, once we become familiar with it all, we will, I think we'll find it's a real help for us. We're still very much in the transition stage, trying to become familiar with it. Some things have become more familiar and I'm comfortable with, and other times we're standing there going, how do you do this again? Yeah. One of the great learning curves for us is going to be the Power BI, and we can mention that later. But yeah, that the reporting facility, I think that's where we're going to see the real benefits once we become more familiar with it all.
Brilliant. So you've been using it for a short while now. What advice can you sort of give to other people considering making the same move and moving away from GP and thinking about Business Central as an alternative?
Yeah, I think I have to give credits to the team that we've been working with. We found them to be so helpful. In I think one of the challenges that we faced is changing the way we think and the way we view the process, and sort of trying to get back into the new system. And I think that's probably the biggest thing to adjust to, is realizing that there's a new system and there's a new way, therefore, of processing some of these transactions. But yeah, bear with it. It will become more familiar, and just because, as I say, I would say I was very familiar with GP, and it sort of throws you into a new learning curves to sort of have to adjust. But it's getting there, and it's same with any program. I'm sure it's going to take 6 months for us to sort of become familiar enough, but it's worth it, because obviously we now have the benefit that it is an online system, and obviously even in the current environment, if things go into lockdown and we want to work from home, we have that functionality now that was obviously not there working from on-premise with our own SQL Server. So there's pros and cons in both directions, and you have to weigh that all up. But certainly the team, the project team that we worked with, we have tremendous confidence that they've helped us get through that and help us to make that transition. So
Brilliant. And then finally, do you have any sort of feedback on Hance as a supplier? I mean, you've mentioned the team that you work with there. Would you be happy to work with Hance in the future?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, as I say, I really appreciated, there was the team. We had Sunita was our project manager. She did a grand job of getting it all organized, but she's become our go-to person. And I think that's been essential for us, especially in this time where everything's online and things like that. But we've been able to sort of go to her with any questions, and she'll come back with us and talk us through it either by phone or by video. We've just really benefited from that. With Dan has been helping us with the Power BI and all the reporting areas of that. That was a huge challenge for us. Obviously, as I say, we've spent 20 years manipulating the SQL data, and so now you're having to sort of manipulate data in Power BI. But the number of reports that he produced that we start off with on the gold package or whatever, it's been a tremendous starting point. Those reports will be a huge time saver. And obviously, as we become more familiar with Power BI, no doubt we'll be modifying and adding to, manipulating that to make it more specific to our own situation requirements. But yeah, it's really, I think it's come down to really appreciating the team that we've been working with. I mean, I know our situation has been somewhat different than others, but they've just been so ready to sort of go away and think through and come up with, how do we work around this? How do we provide solutions for that? So yeah, it has been a huge blessing to have the team. And one of the biggest challenges for us, I think, was in regards to our statements for the missionaries and students, the way that they are and what that involves. Previously, we'd been able to sort of accomplish all that by just taking the SQL data, and we have recruited Stephen. It's been a huge help, his programming skills that have enabled us to get the data exported from BC, and then we can continue to produce those statements and those receipt letters using our existing software. So it's been just so helpful to see the way that they've operated, the way that they have gone away and thought, well, how do we manage to accomplish the issues, resolve the issues? And so, yeah, would we work with hance again? Well, obviously, we're very thankful for your help. We're very thankful for all that you've helped us get accomplished. We will continue to contact them and say, hey, how do we do this, or what do I need to do if something's not working? And then, but yeah, no, we're more than happy to recommend them hance, especially the team that we've got used to and worked with. It's been a real beneficial relationship, so we're thankful for that.
Brilliant. Well, the feeling is mutual, and we've enjoyed working with you on it. I'd like to thank you for your time this morning. It's been really good. And if anybody does want to speak to New Tribes and get involved with anything, then I'm sure that Kevin will be happy to take a call from them. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Yeah. Okay.